hardest thing. I'm learning to fly, learning to fly.
Well, it sounded a little quiet to me.
I know,
didn't
a
it? It was
little bit, yeah.
quiet. I don't know if it was the speaker.
I'm working on a
was
new
it the speaker, or was it?
working on
was
a
it
new
us?
intro. You know, I'm getting, baseball season about a month away. I'm getting my
very true, Tony
spring
P.
training is here. I'm getting the bat ready. A little pine tar on there. We'll see.
Tony P at the bat. Forget Casey. Tony P at the bat. It is Thursday night. This is
Strikeout
the
king.
Live Zone Primetime. I'm producer Chris. That is Tony P. Tony P, apologies, but I didn't peg you as a baseball fan, are you?
Oh, you're not a baseball guy? Oh my God! So the first sport I ever loved was baseball.
Okay.
So my mother and I.
I imagine the Red Sox are your team.
Yes. So that was a moment for us in 2003, 2004, and they were starting to win again. And they had, of course, they broke the 86-year curse. My dad, 86-year curse. We were there. I was home, and I remember my mother during the Yankee series woke me up at like 3 in the morning to say we won the series.
Yeah, I was a freshman.
And we celebrated. I was out of school for 2 days because of that.
I want to say, and
Yeah.
at American University, and I just remember looking out. My room looked out over the Letts Anderson Quad. Anyone who went to American University,
I've seen
knows
that area.
exactly
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. And like all these. We're streaming, so I'm gonna say it. All the mass holes were outside, and they were lighting
a lot of them in DC.
lighting a broom on fire. I guess was it a sweep?
Yeah, it was. So the World Series was against St. Louis.
yeah.
They went in there and they won handedly.
Yeah.
It was really interesting that year, and then in 05, 06, as I got older, I collected these little pins of all the players, and that would be like something that I would get for doing
this
a
was
good
like
chore or
peak,
whatever.
like Manny Ramirez, Kevin Youkilis,
Ortiz,
Pedro Martinez,
Orlando Cabrera.
Yeah,
and
you guys had a
great
solid
athletes.
squad. You know, it's always
And I
it makes me
played,
laugh
too.
all the time. If you fast forward to 2009 when the Phillies went to the World Series,
Right.
the year after they won, they played the Yankees and they lost. But Pedro Martinez was on the Phillies pitching staff at that point.
Right.
And it's always like burned into my brain of like
because he went to the Mets
Pedro
and then he went to
Martinez
the
was
Phillies.
a Philly at one point.
No, but I played the
Anyway.
game. So I was a catcher. One final thing. I was a catcher, and I used to love it.
I was as well, yeah.
Nothing better than get behind the plate, a nice Saturday night game playing Little League. I used to love that. The problem was
Yeah, I miss it so
I couldn't
bad.
hit consistently. That was my
No,
biggest.
me
You
neither.
got me down 0-2.
I was an okay
done.
fielder. I started as catcher, then I played. I started at second base, then I played
Okay.
catcher, then I played first base.
Nice.
Because I was gangly. I was long and lanky. And so,
Gangly,
you know,
like
I could get that scoop.
Hey, listen, first basemen make a ton of money now. Now, question:
Well,
are you right or
okay,
lefty?
so no, I wasn't. See, that's the
Yeah.
thing. You're either a lefty because it makes more sense based,
Right.
or you were a large guy who
Who just
could
what?
hit, but you didn't necessarily play the best fielding. That has changed,
Exactly,
obviously.
right.
Guys like Bryce Harper, they have moved from the outfield to first base type of a thing. But
Yeah.
we could talk about this for the next
The catcher and the
forever. We
first
could talk about
baseman
this
get access to the
forever.
ball the most. At least that's pitcher.
Yeah, catcher's got to do a lot of work too.
Yeah,
you
you
got to
gotta
guide
block.
everybody out in the field. It's
a
a lot,
goaltender,
as Yogi Berra once said. 99% of half of baseball is 99% mental. And a catcher, that was a very key. That was a Tony P. I can't wait for.
Yes.
Maybe we can get. I don't know. We'll check in with our sports people.
we get the Nats people- the
see
Nats
if people
people
are
on? Who
down
knows?
there in spring training
Yeah.
as all the fun's going on. Then of course opening day we will probably.
I
have,
might know some folks from
probably
the
have
marketing
coverage,
team.
yeah.
Maybe we can get them
That would
on
be
here.
fantastic. Tony P. You know what I love about this show?
What do you love?
That
Besides
45
me,
minutes.
of course.
45 minutes ago, I had no idea that we were going to start off by talking about aliens.
But the thing is, that's the beauty. Now, what's the line we always say? If it's live,
If it's
and
live and it's happening now, And this is what President
going
Trump
to it.
posted on Truth Social at 8:13 tonight. Based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, and unidentified flying objects, and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. All caps, God bless America. So, President Trump, this comes obviously, Tony P., and we talked about this a little earlier,
Yeah.
after Barack Obama, over the weekend at the All-Star Game, talked about well, it wasn't just at the All-Star Game. He did it on a podcast. But then he had he had to kind of not issue a correction per se, but kind of
Provide context.
Provide some context.
Always
to
about
it.
context.
And the context being that the President of the United States was not privy to any information about aliens that the rest of us were not, basically. But the President also basically made it seem like it would be naive to think in a universe this complex and this vast that we would be alone out there. President Donald Trump seemed to imply that Barack Obama let the cat out of the bag.
Right, or broke the law. He said on Air Force One, he did something really bad, and like I guess he broke the law according to him. But I mean, when you think about it, something like this, for example, talking about how I kind of look at President Trump's base, right, the new base post 2022, 2023. A lot of them were from this Manosphere podcast experience environment, right, and a lot of things.
Conspiracy theories. I mean, let's just call it what it is.
Oh, yes.
A lot of conspiracy theories
I'm being a little
popular
nicer.
among some of his base.
Yes.
And this
is red meat.
Is one of those conspiracy theories that has just fascinated people for generations.
Right.
West Virginia
Are the
Bend.
aliens here?
West Virginia Bend. The truth is out there. Obviously, a Fox classic. The X-Files. Not sure if you were a fan of the show.
No.
Mulder and Scully.
Yeah, I've heard of it, though.
Fun fact.
Okay.
So, the director of Sinners, Ryan Coogler.
Yes.
Who his movie is set a new record for the most nominated movie of all time.
Vampires
at the
that
Oscars.
vehicle.
He is working on an X-Files reboot.
No way.
Pretty psyched about
That's
that.
That's going to have
West
some
Virginia
deep
Bend.
meaning to it as well for social change. And I think that's good to tie. I think it's good to tie social change and aliens together because the aliens.
All right, if you're an alien,
or
if you believe in aliens and you believe the truth is out there, you can see that QR code.
Now the
you
big
can scan
question for you, my friend, the audience needs to know this: is what is your favorite alien movie? Because there's so many of them. And of course, we have Star Wars and Star Trek and all this.
Tony
you got to give me one.
Tony P's deep into the Star Wars right now.
Yes, I'm almost done.
Oh man, I mean, Predator. Predator is a classic.
Wow. Okay. Not Alien.
Alien.
Aliens.
Alien scared the hell out of me when I was a kid.
Scary
I
movie.
believe it was the second one. It was with the little girl and the cat. And Ripley has to save her. Scared the ever-loving bejesus out of me. I never really went back to it after that. I think it was the second one because the first one is the one where the thing pops out of the guy's stomach.
Yeah.
Equally as traumatizing. But we could spend hours.
Independence Day is mine. Independence Day. That
I want to
speech.
take my answer back.
Okay, you can't because the speech when he goes, "We won't go quietly into the night."
Yeah, Bill Pullman classic.
I get pumped up on the 4th of July. Because of that speech, and I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I wanted to pretend that I was president because of that speech.
I had to do a speech I had to memorize a speech in high school, junior year, and recite it, and that was the one I chose to do.
You're kidding me.
Right now, you're taking a live look at a rainy Annapolis, Maryland.
Yes.
It has been a wet night all across the DMV, but what we are focused on is this weekend because we could see another chance for winter weather, Tony P. I know we mentioned this last night. I know none of us are psyched about it after what has been a very cold. After that, we finally started getting rid of that snowcrete out there, but we are keeping an eye on what could be the chance for some snow this Sunday. It's still pretty far out there, but Mike Thomas, meteorologist, is keeping an eye on it. He will have an update for you at the top of the 10 o'clock hour. Tony P, I mean, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. This is just conversational snowflakes. Maybe the kind that are just pretty. I don't need, we had enough, those piles out there were more than enough. I don't need anything else.
It was one storm.
Yeah.
And we're still reeling from it. And I think what's interesting about this particular system is some of the models, they can't really figure, it's so close to the day, and they still really don't know. Because again, usually, we're talking to Mike about this, there's usually 3 or 4 days, you'll know what the model looks like, and you have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. We're closer than that, 1 or 2 days away, and we still don't know what it's actually going to be. Will it push off a little bit more to sea? Will it go inland? Who knows? I am crossing my fingers for none of it, because you know what? When you look at all this snow, we don't need it anymore. And also, what's been great is the last few days, it has been nice for the temperature. It's been a little balmy out there.
Although I will
Almost
say,
cutting these
Tony,
off for shorts.
Tony P, I'm not going to make you do this. We're not going to do this right now. But if you check Fox 5 DC's social media pages, you may have
Yes.
seen a video of Tucker and Steve doing some push-ups. And
I
that is
sure
because
did.
Tucker let us down with his, and look, it happens. He's human. Meteorologists make mistakes all the time. But Tucker said it was going to be like 60 degrees. We didn't hit 60 degrees, and so he had to pay.
Yeah.
He needed to be punished.
He had a rough day.
And so push-ups. And listen, that guy, he just loves to show off. He wants to always take his shirt off. So it's no shock that he chose to do some push-ups. All right, so we covered the weather, we covered the aliens. Now we do have to get into some more serious topics now, because of course we have been following this ongoing situation, the Potomac River sewage spill. It has been 1 month officially since that massive sewage spill began, Tony P. Believe it or not. I mean, I'm kind of shocked that it's already been a month.
I mean,
however,
look at all that.
I know. The work to fix the broken pipe and mitigate the environmental disaster continues around the clock. Today, DC Water successfully reached the damaged section of the Potomac Interceptor. They say that marks a critical step in the ongoing damage assessment and repair efforts. Crews spent the day manually digging out the affected area, carefully removing sludge, soil, and debris from that collapsed pipe. You see this video right there. Tom Fitzgerald was out there today. The work is slow and painstaking because large boulders and rocks complicate the excavation process.
My God.
At the same time, like we told you last night, DC's mayor has declared this an emergency. She says it's the fastest way to kickstart federal assistance. Critics questioning the timing, they want to know why it took so long. The mayor told Fox 5 today that she made the emergency declaration because even though the pipe break is in Maryland, DC Water services DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and that makes this a regional issue. Mayor Bowser said she'd been in contact with both Maryland Governor Wes Moore and Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger. And after days of sparring with President Trump, Governor Moore today said he continues to want to work with the administration. Take a listen.
Oh, I think it's complicated. But we have the ability. DC Water serves DC, Maryland, and Virginia. DC ratepayers support DC Water, as do businesses and entities in Maryland and Virginia. And I think it's very important that we try to keep them whole.
We will work with cabinet secretaries, agency heads, et cetera. But we always want to make sure that it is productive. We always want to make sure that that the work that we're doing is going to advance the interests of the people of our state.
So while DC's emergency declaration will help the district recoup any funds, a spokesman for Governor Moore told Fox 5 today Maryland will not be seeking an emergency declaration because the responsibility for the repair and subsequent cleanup does not fall to Maryland. That is because both the property and the infrastructure is on federal land. Tony P., we talked about this earlier this week.
It's the battle
with the Potomac Riverkeeper Network. It is that battle, and jurisdictional issues pop up around this region all the time. But this obviously affects so many people in such a large swath of the region that, putting the political infighting aside and focusing on repairing and making sure it doesn't happen again should be the top priority.
Exactly, and you saw it today in Governor Wes Moore's language, at the brunch today, and the overall discussions that he's having. I think it's the National Governors Association weekend and lunches and all the events there. He's talking about, hey, we want to work with this administration, the cabinet secretaries. He made that point specifically because I think he really understands that this is about the cabinet level items, whether it be EPA, whether it be someone in energy or things of that nature, transportation with the NTSB and different pipelines we're seeing. So I think overall the tone has definitely toned down, pardon the pun. But I think overall this issue, because we're in a very tight tri-state area, basically, if you count DC as a state, which it isn't, but we basically are an entity, right? So it's the tri-entity area, we'll call it that, okay? Where you have so many people that are relying upon this. And yeah, the pipe's in Maryland over the border, but it's technically on federal land, and DC has the water with it, and the impact's mostly in DC and some parts of Maryland. There's a lot of who's it going to affect here versus how can we fix it. And I think
Yeah.
the language is now shifting to how can we fix it, because what we're realizing is, and we talked about it earlier this week, where people are not paying attention as much to issues of piping and utilities. Now, it's becoming a kitchen table issue.
Front and center.
It should.
And beyond just this pipe, we also have to talk about that
Yes.
gas pipe as well. Let's head over to Centerville, that home explosion and gas leak. We're hearing from people impacted as crews continue to search for the exact location of the leak. Meanwhile, some of the families evacuated were allowed to return to their homes yesterday, but they had no heat or natural gas services. If you were watching last night, you know we heard from 2 homeowners in
we
that
did.
neighborhood who were affected differently. One was allowed back into their home, but they had no heat. One was staying in a hotel, not allowed back in their home. Neighbors we spoke to today tell Fox 5 they are at their wits' end.
The whole heating situation has been torture. I've been trying to tough it out. I've was able to go to family members and kind of do the shower and come back. I have sort of the cat thing, but tonight I sort of gave in, and fortunately I did reach out to Washington Gas, and they are putting me up in for a hotel.
So it's been a little more than 4 days since that home explosion on the 14,000 block of Quail Pond Court. The National Transportation Safety Board says it could take 1 to 2 years to complete its investigation. Washington Gas could be on site for several more days. So
Again, and both of those neighbors were just so brave last night to talk about their story and what they have and have not received from whether it be Washington Gas or federal officials or their local leaders. And I think what's really impressive is how they're all banding together as a neighborhood to take care of each other, as well as to hold all the resources and entities accountable for when people are allowed back in their homes. How are they going to know they're truly safe? What are the precautions being put in place from fire to local officials to Washington Gas to make sure that if there is any further disruption once people are allowed back in their homes, that there isn't another explosion like this that could tragically hurt someone or take their life? Because we look at the situation and we're glad, for the most part, everybody's okay. This could have been a heck of a lot worse. And one of the stories we heard last night was that Washington Gas was on the scene for hours and didn't really do much to mitigate stuff before the explosion happened, which was just so scary to think about, because again, it goes back to things like pipelines and heating and utilities. These things matter.
things that we use every single day
We take
and
it for granted.
granted.
It's almost like it's the set it and forget it thing, where we just, we pay it, everything's fine, and we don't really know how it works behind the scenes and how close things are to crapping out, basically, or to not working, things of that nature. And we're seeing that now with both of these cases. But again, the neighbors banding together and making sure that they are safe for each other and for the entire community is really just a beautiful sentiment. And we just feel for them, because having to go to hotels and worry about cold water, not be able to heat your home, is ludicrous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ludicrous.
All right, Tony P., let's talk about what else you were keeping an eye on today. And I know
Yes.
we're starting overseas, and an update
Yes,
in a
we are.
case that we talked about, conspiracy theories a little earlier
did.
tonight.
Yep.
This is one of the, not a conspiracy theory, but one of those stories that people online have been watching extremely closely.
And this one is very serious, of course. We know the Epstein files and the sex trafficking ring associated with Jeffrey Epstein.
Not a conspiracy theory.
No, exactly not. And there was history made today overseas in Great Britain. British authorities detained and questioned former Prince Andrew, who is now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as part of a widening criminal investigation tied to newly released Epstein files. Investigators are examining whether Andrew, while serving as the UK Special Trade Envoy, improperly shared government access or leveraged diplomatic status for private financial dealings and sending over emails to Jeffrey Epstein. Authorities reviewed travel records, financial communications, and contacts referenced in the U.S. court documents. And Andrew was released without charges, though. But officials are saying the investigation into potential misconduct in public office, that's the official charge, remains active. In the Middle East, President Trump convened the first meeting of the International Board of Peace for Gaza today, bringing together the U.S., Israeli, UN, and regional representatives to begin planning post-war governance. The group is focused on rebuilding infrastructure, coordinating humanitarian aid, and establishing an interim Palestinian administrative authority designed to prevent Hamas from returning to power. Discussions today included security oversight, reconstruction funding commitments, including a $10 billion potential commitment from President Trump and the U.S. government, and possible multinational stabilization forces on the ground. At the same time, tensions between the U.S. and Iran are continuing to escalate, with the White House delivering Tehran a 10-day diplomatic deadline to reach an agreement limiting nuclear enrichment and regional military activity. U.S. officials said negotiations remain open, but warned military options are being prepared currently if diplomacy fails. Reporting from Israel tonight also indicates that U.S. commanders have informed President Trump that strike plans and regional assets are being positioned in the region should escalation occur within and post the 10-day environment. Back here in Washington, Virginia, Democratic Governor Abigail Spanberger was chosen to deliver the Democratic response to President Trump's State of the Union address next week. Party leaders selected Spanberger, a former CIA officer and centrist Democrat in Congress, to emphasize economic stability, national security, and outreach to suburban and independent voters ahead of the 2026 midterms. Back in the international world, a South Korean court sentenced former President Yoon Suk-yeol today to life imprisonment after convicting him over actions tied to an attempted insurrection plan following his declaration of martial law in 2024. Prosecutors sought the death penalty, but judges imposed life in prison, marking one of the most dramatic political convictions in South Korea's democratic era, and truly a first in many ways in the G7 or not G7, the G20 world and kind of that environment. You know, the democratic nations, this is a first in many ways for that. Now, turning to the U.S. economy, the new Labor Department data showed that weekly jobs claims fell by 23,000 to about 206,000 people, well below expectations and near historic lows, which is signaling continued labor market stability even as interest rates and inflation continue to fluctuate. The 4-week average held near 219,000, and continuing claims stood around 1.87 million people, suggesting layoffs remain limited even as hiring overall slowed in the last year and a half. In the world of business as well, trade data showed the U.S. trade deficit widened sharply, jumping 32.6% in December to $70.3 billion as expenses rushed to import goods ahead of expected tariffs. For the full year, total imports rose to roughly $4.3 trillion in 2025, and exports reached about $3.4 trillion, and the overall trade deficit remained nearly $901 billion total, one of the highest levels on record, by the way, despite tariff policies aimed at reducing said imbalance and reshoring jobs. In celebrity news, Page Six is reporting that relationship we talked about earlier between Tom Brady and influencer Alex Earl back at the Super Bowl are actually still in contact and having quote-unquote fun together in what sources have described as a not that serious situationship, but one that they said is going beyond just a one-off run-in. So who knows? I did call this, Chris, on my social media. I knew it was not just a one-off thing when we saw it. There was a Cabo or St. Bart's. Then you had the Super Bowl run-in. I knew it was something more than that. It is a fling, and I'm just happy for both of them because they are two goats in their industries. Also in entertainment, for all of you nostalgic fans out there and lover of Toy Story, today is a big day for you. Disney and Pixar released the first trailer for Toy Story 5, reuniting Woody and Buzz Lightyear as toys confront a generation increasingly absorbed by digital devices. The trailer went viral after revealing Woody now has a visible bald spot on his head, signaling the character's aging characteristics after decades of play. Tom Hanks and Tim Allen returned to voice these iconic roles, with the film set for release on June 19th of this year. So that's going to be one of a big summer blockbuster. I can't wait. They have just continued to make great movies. I look at this; it's like the sunshine in there. I love that. And finally, for our Black History Month fact of the day, we're going to keep it with golf. We talked about last night for breaking barriers in the golf industry. We're going to talk about golf products now. Dr. George Franklin Grant made history in golf long before the modern professional era. In 1899, Grant became the first African American to receive a U.S. patent for a golf tee, inventing the wooden peg tee that we see today across the game. The modern golf tee, you can thank this man for that, because it's meant to elevate the ball off the ground for cleaner shots as opposed to previous tees that were basically a mound of dirt, so the ball was a lot lower and a lot of people just couldn't play the game because of that. A Harvard-educated dentist and the first black faculty member at Harvard University, some more history for you. Grant's invention helped shape how golf is played today, even though he never commercialized it and has rarely received the recognition that he deserved during his lifetime. Isn't that really cool? I'll tell you, that is just, I remember seeing that fact, this was a while back, when I was at Logan Airport, and there's like a celebrity wall at Logan about who's from Boston and who's done stuff in Boston that's really great. And then there's history, and then there's inventions. And this was one of the 10 of them on the wall at one of the terminals I was walking through. And I'm like, this is really cool. I have to talk about this because it is really just incredible, whether it be, whether it be Lee Elder or Calvin Pete, who, broke barriers playing the game. So many, black individuals and people of color really help make the game what it is from a product perspective and just golf itself.
And Tony P will find any way possible to talk about his favorite
It's only
sport
2 nights in a
here on
row,
Live
okay?
Zone Prime Time. This pure, shots fired directly at producer Chris and his growing bald spot. This was just so cold-blooded. How dare you, Disney and Pixar?
Oh,
how
even me.
dare you?
Wow. Like,
oh my goodness.
You're bringing Pixar into
That
this?
bald spot has been lighting up social media, and I'm surprised my group chat hasn't weighed in as well yet. However, I did get a text from my wife, and I'm going to put her on the spot. She texted me and said she cried watching this, the trailer, which means that it doesn't bode well for me, who is an immensely emotional person, and already cried at Toy Story 3. And
so long.
That ended that way. Oh my goodness.
So long, partner.
Oh my goodness.
No, but I can't wait.
Goodness.
This is the one series that I think could make 10 movies. And every one of them would be good.
I mean,
they
the
found
first one came out in 1995,
Yes.
31 years ago. I was, I believe, in 6th grade.
I wasn't even alive.
I love the fact that my daughter could end up watching these movies, new movies. We can go see them in the theater together.
Exactly.
At some point. And I just tremendous. All right, we do need to take a break. There's a live picture from our Fox 5 Skycam above Frederick, Maryland. Looks a little drier, hopefully.
Let's check that
Hopefully,
weather.
yeah. We'll see. Check in with Mike Thomas at the top of the 10. Coming up next, though, it's Thursday night. That means we are laying down the law. Jay Carter and Marissa George will join us live for an all-new Legally Speaking coming up next.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Awesome. Hi, Melissa. We're going to be talking about Sha'Carri Richardson and Tyra Banks. So should be good. Oops, my thing came out. 1 second.
All right, welcome back to the Live Zone Prime Time on this Thursday night. We do want to get to some sad breaking news out of Hollywood. Just in, you see the headline from People magazine. Eric Dane, the star of Grey's Anatomy and Euphoria, has died at the age of 53. This comes nearly 1 year after he announced his ALS diagnosis. He has been very open about his recent struggles. We saw him on the red carpet recently where he talked about this as well, but that news just coming in that actor Eric Dane has died at the age of 53. after his ALS diagnosis.
Just, I mean, just so tragic. I mean, first of all, a TV and movie icon, of course, and especially for my generation and millennials and others. And just to think about how awful ALS is. It's a debilitating disease. It is just one of the most tragic things you can get. I know from years ago, 2014, 2013, there was the ALS Bucket Challenge. That's when I first became aware of the disease, and it was started by Pete Frates, who went to my high school and battled with ALS for years. And it does so much to you physically, and can just be, it's one of the hardest things you can ever go through as a human being. And sometimes it can really get to you fast, like it did to Eric Dane. And it's just so sad, because he was such a great voice when he first announced it, about resilience and telling people to take care of their health, and also being someone that was advocating for people with ALS for a cure, for making sure that people who were going through it had the medication and the resources they could to get access. And just a truly incredible man. He's going to be so missed.
Yeah, in a statement, two people from the actor's family, they wrote, "With heavy hearts, we share that Eric Dane passed on Thursday afternoon following a courageous battle with ALS. He spent his final days surrounded by dear friends, his devoted wife, and his two beautiful daughters, Billy and Georgia, who were the center of his world. Throughout his journey with ALS, Eric became a passionate advocate for awareness and research, determined to make a difference for others facing the same fight. He will be deeply missed and lovingly remembered always. Eric adored his fans and is forever grateful for the outpouring of love and support he's received. The family has asked for privacy as they navigate this impossible time." So,
Impossible, exactly.
obviously, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, his loved ones, but the breaking news in right now that actor Eric Dane has died at the age of 53 after a nearly 1-year battle with
53.
ALS. So,
Like,
we'll
you think
have
about
much
that,
more on
53.
this story coming up on Fox 5 News at 10 right here at the top of the hour. In the meantime, though, we do want to move on. It is Thursday night, Tony P., and Thursday nights around here means we need
Yes,
to
it
lay
is.
down the law, and we
I think we call the section. I like
lay
that.
down the law, but it's actually time for some legally speaking. So, of course, we need to turn to our friends Jay Carter and Marissa George, the hosts of Legally Speaking,
All right.
joining us now live. Welcome back to the show. Whoop,
Oh, there we go.
whoop.
Yeah,
Stand by, stand by. Can we hear you?
The jury can't hear.
The jury can't hear. All right, we need to fix this. Stand by. Jay, I'm going to start with you. Jay, can you hear me while I work on this?
I'll tell you.
All right,
What I'm really- what
we
I'm
are
really
having
looking
some
forward to.
issues right now.
I'll tell you,
Stand by,
I'll
stand by.
look-
I'm going to take a quick commercial
Yeah,
break.
okay.
I'm going to take a quick commercial break
I
while
was
we
gonna
work
hold
on
the
this.
air
Hang
there.
tight, everybody. Stand by, stand by. Here we go. All right, what happened? Why did we just lose that? All right, Jay and Marissa, can you guys give me a count to 10 again? Why are we not hearing anything all of a sudden?
Oh, is it here? Try now. Try now. No, I can't hear him.
to leave you high and dry for a second.
Okay, no worries.
All right, so we're back.
Yes, we are.
We're still having some audio issues on our end, so I'm going to leave Tony P
Yep.
for a second, and I'm going to go call our maintenance team and see if
Yep,
I can
exactly.
figure something out in the meantime. Hang tight.
Of course, no, but
Hold the fort down.
I will. I mean, so I don't know if we can get to the YouTube comments, but what was interesting, I know we were I'll go to my rundown a little bit, folks. I'll be able to see if we can kind of talk about a few things here. I mean, what's really, what I think is fascinating, I think one of the things we'll get to is what happened overseas. You know, we talked about at the beginning of my rundown about Prince Andrew, or former Prince Andrew, being taken into custody, detained with regards to the Epstein case. Now, a lot of that, just so people know, it is not about the actions that he's accused of in the Epstein files and by Epstein survivors. It's actually being charged about some information that he shared with Jeffrey Epstein in a business sense that is now being called into question. Did he try to help Jeffrey Epstein make money? So it's a corruption scandal that could potentially be the beginning of other things. And again, the charges have not been filed yet, but they're still ongoing for the investigation. And what I find really interesting about this particular case, and you compare it to a lot of the anger here in the States about how not many individuals are being held accountable. Of course, yesterday you had Les Wexner, who is accused of being Jeffrey Epstein's one of his major funders. And you had just basic testimony where there was a subpoena. They went to his home in Ohio, basically his home area, Columbus area, to go take that deposition and testimony. And a lot of folks here in the States feel that there hasn't been the right accountability put on the rich and powerful and folks that were involved in this god-awful scandal and just evil acts done by Jeffrey Epstein and co-conspirators. And so what I think is going to be interesting with this development with former Prince Andrew, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and this detainment and investigation is, what does it mean here in the States? Does the Department of Justice actually take accountability and bring forth charges on people that they can prove in a court of law were a part of this awful sexual abuse ring? And I think this particular case has a chance to do that, but when you look at what's going on, whether it be the administration or Department of Justice and some of this, the way things are being said online, it doesn't look like it's going to be happening. So I think overall this might be a one-off situation with regards to Great Britain doing this, but this is truly unprecedented. I was hearing, oh, sorry.
No sweat.
Go
Tony
on.
P, I'm going to try to take one more commercial
Sorry.
break. Hang with us.
Hope it
We're
wasn't
working through
rambling
our
for too
issues,
long.
and we're going to try
But-
to get to Legally Speaking coming up on the
Yes,
other side of the break.
yes.
We'll be right back.
Well, that was helpful.
No, I appreciate it.
It's like
Thank
just
you.
rambling.
All right, test 1 2, test 1 2. Can you guys give me a count to 5 again? All right, so it's weird, Tony P. I'm
Yeah.
just going to say this, is right there when I hit that,
Right.
I hit our show open button.
Right, and the sound didn't come on.
And we didn't have any sound either.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where this lack of communication is coming from between
Yes.
our system and this.
Yes.
I'm very, very confused right now.
I
And am
totally get it. This
I
is-
am no engineer.
No, neither am I.
But basically what I'm imagining is happening is that no audio is coming through this system into this. I think everyone can hear us right now.
Please tell us if
But
you,
we're
if you
having
can't
issues.
hear us.
Yeah, so West Virginia Ben, if you're in the YouTube live stream and you can
Are we
hear us,
are we talking to a wall?
let us know. In the meantime, I'm totally bummed because we were supposed to talk to Jay Carter and Marissa George. They have
Yep.
their ongoing series, Legally Speaking, and we were supposed to talk to Andre Whiteboy Johnson from
Right.
Rare
I was-
Essence, who are celebrating 50
I was
years.
so excited for
50
both.
years. So I don't want to write this off yet because we
I
are
have
still
my-
working on
I have
this
my
issue.
questions right here.
But we are having obviously some issues right now, and I'm not 100% sure what our issue is. So I apologize. We're going to put up this live picture from Frederick, Maryland. In the meantime,
Yes.
we're gonna step away just for 1 second while we work on this. So hang tight, please. Thank you to everyone for rolling with our technical issues as we do this. But obviously, it's been a rainy night. Maybe there's a gremlin in our system.
Right,
Not
maybe.
100% sure. I'm getting sweaty.
No, you
We'll
did
be
this.
right
We got
back.
this.
Let's see. So he said that he's just gonna log into the. Yay! Okay. Yes. He can, we can hear you. I don't know if he. Yeah. All right. And it was a workaround. I just couldn't think of what the workaround could be. But I was like, there's gotta be a way to. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. We're ready.
Oh, really? You coming to the studio? I hear them. Okay, hold on.
George joining us now live. Thank
Can you hear
guys
us?
so much
We
for
cannot
your
hear
patience.
I'll keep my
guys.
questions short. I
No,
promise.
well, okay.
Yeah, we can hear them now.
Oh, you
hear
can
them
hear
now.
us now. Excellent. All right. Thank you guys so much for your patience. Thanks for hanging out with us. All right. It's Thursday night. That means it's time for Legally Speaking with Jay Carter and Marissa George joining us once again. We're going to get right down to business. We're going to lay down the law. Tyra Banks in the headlines this week. Jay, tell us why.
So this week, Tyra Banks is in the headlines due to essentially having her America's Next Top Model show being brought to the forefront 25 years later. But what we thought were just like extreme competition scenes from her show that we used to gawk at, people are saying, no, this show has some legal issues, some legal troubles where contestants could have potentially sued for certain issues as it relates to their work environment, medical procedures that they had to go through. Even a girl actually said that she was sexually assaulted, and it was actually played into the storyline that it was a cheating scandal. So all the things that we watched 25 years ago that may appear to be entertaining because it was almost like this extreme show of like Survivor meets the real world in the modeling context, where you would essentially learn about what it took to be a model, which we know is a very tough industry, they're now pulling the curtains back and saying, no, these were real legal issues that were presented at the time that contestants would have had some legal claims for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now
And-
it's time for Marissa to make the case of some of those legal claims that contestants could have made against Tyra and production and executive producers.
Yeah, so again, no lawsuit has been filed. There's no findings of liability at all. This is just purely a legal analysis of potential claims that could be examined. So from a prosecution or a plaintiff perspective, the first potential issue could be a hostile work environment claim. So this involves allegations that a workplace became intimidating, was humiliating, or emotionally harmful. And there, the prosecution or plaintiff would look into repeated conduct or a pattern of behavior and not just like one isolated incident. And so they also would probably evaluate possible harassment claims. So workplace harassment claims can include repeated verbal or psychological treatment that interferes with someone's ability to work safely or professionally. So the key legal question there is whether the conduct was severe or pervasive enough to meet the legal threshold. And then another major area that they might look into would be failure to provide adequate security or a safe working environment. So if an individual, like Jay Carter mentioned, alleges being sexually assaulted during production, attorneys would want to examine whether reasonable safe measures were in place. Employers and production entities generally have a legal duty to provide a reasonable, safe workplace. And so this situation has turned, like, if the situation at work has turned into like a storyline or a public narrative, legal questions could arise depending on whether the individual's well-being was properly prioritized. And then one of the last potential claims would be emotional distress. So if someone alleges serious psychological harm caused by on-set conduct, attorneys might evaluate intentional or negligent infliction of emotional distress, depending on the facts. So again, legal analysis, but the key takeaway is that reality TV is still a workplace, and a traditional workplace has legal standards that apply here. So it'd be really interesting to see what actually happens.
Ooh.
Absolutely. And then in terms of making the case for Tyra and executive producers in response to that, again, no legal case obviously has been filed, but they would argue as it relates to hostile work environment and any harassment that they may have felt for doing certain extreme challenges or being in certain environments, that you signed up for this. You signed a model release that almost outside of like death, that, you know, and Marissa can probably speak to this. She's been on a reality show where she has to sign a release saying that, like, hey, if I accidentally fall off this cliff, my family can't sue you for wrongful death, right? So you do sign these really extreme waivers, and you also have to look at, it was 25 years ago. Like, they didn't really work out the complete kinks of what these type of reality shows were. And so they will lean heavy into, like, if you try to sue us, like, you signed the release. I think the one that's probably the most troubling is the failure to provide a safe environment as it relates to the cheating scandal that model Shandy is saying was actually sexual assault, because she says that she wasn't aware of what was happening because she was essentially drunk. She was drinking, right? And those drinks were provided by producers. So she wasn't in her right mind to consent. She could have, I think, even back then had a very strong argument that, like, hey, I'm a young girl, I'm overseas, you invite strangers into our filming house, you give me alcohol, where to the point where I'm not in my right mind so that I can't consent. I actually think she could have had an argument. At this point, probably all of their claims would be probably beyond the statute of limitations unless they use some sort of statutory exception. But it definitely is an interesting legal way of looking at America's Next Top Model, and what would have been acceptable then is certainly not acceptable now.
Yeah.
No, and it shouldn't be, I think, in any decade. So for me as the jury, I'm convicting that things are coming up, because I think we saw our Biggest Loser. It's not the same things, obviously, but it's a similar type of case. yeah, I mean, the claims that have been made and some have been substantiated, and in my opinion, as a jurist, yeah, I'm going to convict them, all of them. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think the court of
it was
opinion
bad,
is going to
a lot of
speak in this
behavior.
case as well. Obviously, everyone can watch that documentary about America's Next Top Model streaming now on Netflix. Guys, I'm so sorry to have to cut it short. Obviously, we had some technical issues tonight. We appreciate you guys
Thank
for
you.
hanging with us, though. If people want to follow along for more, though, where can they go and do it?
Well, we are on YouTube. If you type in Legally Speaking TV show, it will come up, but the exact handle is youtube.com/@Legally Speaking Show. And obviously, I'm on Instagram at AskJCarter. I'm also the Entertainment Esquire. And Marissa, give them your Instagram handle and your docket show.
Yes, Rissa.George, and you can also find me on the docket on YouTube.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Thank you
Thank
both.
you guys both
Thank
so
you.
much
Thank
for
you.
spending some time with us. All right, we need to crank things up now because tonight we are celebrating not only 50 years of GoGo, but 50 years of one of the GoGo OGs. We are talking about Rare Essence, the DMV's own, and tonight
yeah.
Andre Whiteboy Johnson joins us live to celebrate. Andre, thank you
It's a
so much
legend.
for your patience.
We got a legend in
An
our midst.
absolute legend in our midst. Thank you so much for your patience and spending some time with us
Thank-
here tonight.
Thank you, guys. Yes, we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so first and foremost, for anyone out there watching this stream who is not familiar with GoGo and Rare Essence, which shame on them, but talk to us a little
Yes.
bit about what it is that makes this so unique and part of DC's culture.
Well, it's first of all, it's the official music of Washington, D.C. It's been there for the longest time. What makes it unique is the fact that once the party starts, it just continues on and on and on and on. That's the reason that we call it go-go. So now when you go to a regular concert, the artist will play a song, stop, everybody claps,
Yeah.
and then they'll start the next song. No, we start, and then we don't stop until it's the end of the first set, and then we take it a break, and it's time to come back on for the second set. So we just keep moving.
Now let me ask you this: so with this great form of music, where it's a lot of endurance, you have to play throughout entire night, and you can't stop. What are some of the things that you have learned over the years in your craft that has helped you keep that endurance while also being creative enough to change some of the sounds to keep people engaged? It's not easy to do in one felt swoop. How do you do that throughout the years? Or how did you do that?
So first, you kind of got to be in shape, especially the percussionist, the drummer, the guitar player, the tamales player, because they are nonstop. Me being a guitar player, I get a break for a minute or two.
Okay, got it.
But
Yeah.
I'm still on stage, but everything has to keep moving. Once you really get into it, the fatigue doesn't really kick in because the adrenaline keeps you going.
Wow.
So it's just we just keep it moving.
Love that.
Andre, how has go-go music kind of changed over the 5 decades you have been a part of this scene? Not just here in the DMV, but also how has it, kind of developed and gone mainstream and beyond the borders of just the DMV as well?
So it has gone beyond the DMV, definitely. But how it's changed is when we first started, we were able. Things were more R&B driven because at that time, hip hop wasn't really. It was just getting started then. Coming through the 90s is when hip hop really exploded, and that's when we started to incorporate some hip hop into what we were doing. And now it's just. We're kind of all over the place. We got R&B, hip hop. We had some pop things that we like Pieces of Me when we put that in. So it's just being able to change with the times, and that's part of the reason that we've been able to be around for so long.
What I've always been just in awe of is how you can take on these like different melodic or melody driven. I can't talk tonight. Melody driven changes and do it all in one set. And I've always wondered how you communicate throughout a set to make it go to a different section or transition it. How do you communicate during an entire set, even if you have a 1 minute break, to make sure that you all feel in touch with the music, in sync, but also that you're playing to what the audience is looking for in that moment?
So a lot of since we've been doing it for so long, we've been able to just learn how to go in and out of different melodic lines and chord changes and all of that. As far as the audience is concerned, as long as they're dancing and having a good time, then we know that we're doing something right. The minute they stop dancing and start just looking at you, then we have to change it, because it's like they just wonder on what we're doing.
Got it.
So that's been part of our secret for the longest time.
Because I've always just been so in awe of how you're able to communicate that. Even when people are still dancing, you know where to go to the next thing. You know what sound's going to make sense. It really is a brilliance, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once you get to know the audience and they get to know you and the musicians, I mean, at one point we were playing 6-7 nights a week. Wow. So you kind of get to know each other, and you don't necessarily have to say whole phrases, or you can just give a head nod, like, we're going here, and they know exactly what you mean. So that it's the verbal and the nonverbal communication that we've nailed down over all these years.
So, Andre, I want to talk a little bit about the past, and I want to talk a little bit about the future, because obviously you can't talk about go-go music here in Washington, D.C. and not think of Chuck Brown as well. But also,
Absolutely.
You've been carrying this torch for go-go music for 5 decades now. Not that you have any plans on passing it along anytime soon, but is the future bright for go-go music? Are those new acts still coming up?
Yes, they are. The future is bright. There is a younger generation that is coming up behind us, and a lot of it is people's kids that have been coming to see us. We get a lot of people that say, "Hey, look, my son just turned 21, and he wanted to come out to see y'all, and he wants you to play One-on-One," which is the very first song that we wrote. Now, if that kid is 21, he was nowhere near around when we wrote that song. Yeah. But when he heard the song from his parents, when they're riding in the car, when they're cleaning up on Saturday afternoons or something like that, that's where he learned to like that song from. So stuff like that, the music being passed down from parent to child, and then also when people would go away to college, they'd go away with a whole case full of PA tapes. So they're blasting the tapes in the dorms, which also got people from other cities, from Atlanta, from Chicago, from New York, that got them into the music. So that helped to bring us to a bunch of different cities.
What do you think is the one thing about Washington, D.C.'s character and just its foundation that made it such a great match with go-go music to be the center of it? What is it about this incredible city?
Well, go-go music is community driven. D.C. has always been, certain parts of D.C., I should say, has always been about community. Yeah. So that's actually how we got started, playing in the park, playing for free, playing at a block party, playing at a community center. Marion Barry, shout out to the late Marion Barry, because yes, we were part of his summer youth program, his summer youth jobs program, where we would play 2 or 3 times a week for 6 weeks in the summer at different parks and different places all around the city. So without that, we may have been stuck, really just in Southeast, but we were moving all around the city. So that all of that plays into the fact that, go-go is here and it's going to be here.
Andre, for all our viewers on Fox Local, the Fox 5 News at 10 is coming up next. But if you're watching on
Yes.
YouTube right now, before we let you go, where can people catch Rare Essence next?
We're at Aqua every Saturday night. That's on New York Avenue. We have, well, you know what? You can check the social media on Facebook is Rare Essence Band, at IGX and TikTok. It is RE Wickedest Band. And you get all your information right there.
All right, last question for you. I know you guys had a high-profile segment this morning on one of those national networks. Good Morning America celebrated 50 years of Rare Essence, 50 years of GoGo. What's the reaction been to that?
It has been phenomenal. I had a family member from Atlanta call me because they usually like to know when I'm doing something like that.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell them.
Oh, yeah.
So-
I always hate when I get those calls. I'm like, oh.
right. He called me and say, "What? How come you ain't tell me you was gonna be on?" I was like, "Oh, I forgot." So he called. So I mean, the reception has been great. We really appreciate those guys for highlighting the music, and we appreciate you guys also. You know, because
Yeah.
we've been rocking with you guys for a long time.
That is
Oh,
right.
you guys
Fox
are
5
awesome.
has been huge fans.
I have one kind of question. It kind of brings the two genres together. So GoGo being a pioneering music 50 years ago, you all were pioneers of it, of course, and part of that. We've seen a really big growth of EDM music, dance music, right? The electronic stuff. Do you see a natural marriage potentially between the sounds of GoGo being remixed with electronic dance and more like club style music? Like, do you see that there could be a match, or do you think that those two genres are very distinct in their own right?
There has to be a way to do that. I can't see how to do it, only because of the tempos of the different genres.
Got
That
it.
EDM is real. They up, they fast. Go-go is a little more laid back.
Yeah.
And if you play it too fast,
Right.
the audience is not used to that, so they're gonna be looking at you like crazy. So, but EDM, I absolutely love EDM, especially their light shows. Those light shows are awesome.
It is, but again, I think there's some way it can be, but again, the tempo is so much different. You're totally right, and it's a more, I think it's a more immersive experience with GoGo, in my opinion, because you get this kind of sound it out more versus kind of quick choppiness.
Yeah, absolutely.
The soundtrack of the city, Andre Whiteboy Johnson. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here. Congratulations on 50 years of the band
Yes.
and 50 years
Well
of GoGo.
done.
Thank you guys. We appreciate it.
All right, and thank you to everyone who tuned in, who stayed with us
Yeah,
through
a
some
few
tech
minutes
issues
extra, you
earlier
know?
today. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Tony P, we survived it. We did it again. We'll be back tomorrow
Yes.
night, Friday night,
Ain't no
right
stopping
here
us
on
now.
Fox 5 DC's YouTube page. Crank it up. Have a great night.